The dead have taken Manhattan, but someone stepped up the plate. Here's your look at the brand new Hiya Toys, Walking Dead, Dead City, Exquisite Mini, Negan. Introducing the new Exquisite mini-series Negan, the 1/18th scale action figure from The Walking Dead Dead City by Hiya Toys. Premiering in June 2023, the sequel series reveals Negan as a wanted man for killing law enforcement officers and 4 others. Despite Negan's reluctance to get involved in more trouble, reality forces him to reveal his radical side. While attempting to seek redemption through the righteous actions, he often succumbs to extreme violence when faced with perceived threats. I guess when the world falls apart, sometimes it is a good day to be a bad guy. Before that, we get a closer look at The Walking Dead Dead City Negan. Let's take, the tape measure and see how tall the figure stands. This guy's slated to drop in May 2025. He's going to be listing at least online for $24.99. There's also going to be an Exquisite Super Series of Negan. He's dropping in June. He's going to be selling for $104.99. Definitely looking forward to getting that Negan. In the meantime, though, I'd like to again thank the folks over at Hiya Toys that did provide this sample. Negan's going to stand at about 3 3/4 of an inch in height. That translates to a figure that's almost 10 centimeters tall. For Negan's accessories, the figure first includes a display stand. Normally, this would have been the time that I would have said, they use these rectangular display stands all the time with Hiya releases, but they've done something a little extra special this time around. We get ourselves what looks to be a zombie that's submerged in mud. It looks like he's still clawing out from his dark depths, even though, half his body is over here. It's a gruesome display stand. One that would work not only well with Negan, but if you happen to have or been collecting in the Exquisite mini-series Predators, I think that would be an ideal display stand for that as well. Of course, like the same, there's always going to be a peg. The peg's actually right there. It's kind of mixed amongst its innards. And then on the back of this, there's actually all these little slots. You can see there's 2 there. There's 2. There's 2. You get these eye brackets. And I know by now you already know what these eye brackets do, but if you have multiple display stands, for example, as I'm sure we will be getting with more Dead City figures, you can connect multiples of these. The only thing about that, though, is with this being such a unique display stand, that does have, again, one skull here, the rest of its body, his torso down below here. Having multiples of these, they're all going to basically look like copycats, unless they do what they've done with the Hiya Toys G.I. Joes, where they kind of just change them up a little bit, have 2 or 3 of them that look different from one another, so that if you are putting multiples together, they're not looking identical to one another. Cool looking display stand though. Like the look of that. Let's move that all off to the side. Negan does come include with some swappable hands. Now already he does have the necessary hands on the ends of his forearms to not only hold the pipe, but also Lucille. If you did want to change those out though, the figure does also come include with a closed punching fist. And it also comes with a relaxed hand. I can't see myself really swapping them out for either one of these offerings, so instead I'm going to put them off to the side. I mentioned already, the figure comes include with a pipe. A pipe's a nice little included accessory. I mean, I would rather have just jumped right to using the Lucille myself, but if you wanted to have the figure displayed with the pipe, there's one certainly available to you. The pipe can fit into his hands with the hands that he has, so just take yourself the pipe, kind of just wedge it in between his hands. I will say, the grip is pretty tight, so you're going to have to do your best to kind of fight through that. And then, of course, the figure, if he's going to be Negan, he has to come include with no Lucille. I have a hard time getting that all out. Lucille, yes. Negan's trusty bat does make an appearance back again in Dead City. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, actually, I think, talks a little bit about online with his relationship that he's had with his bat. I think even in Season 2, they've confirmed that he's going to be getting an upgrade bat. The bat itself, as you can see, does have the wrapped barbed wire. I'm sure if you looked closely enough, you probably could see somebody's eyeballs, a few end trails, whatever's left behind of what he's bruised and bashed in somebody's face with. The bat itself looks dirty. It looks dingy, as it really should when it comes to Lucille. And then, of course, you can take that. It doesn't really matter, obviously, which side you're going to be doing this. But seeing as he already has the pipe on one side, let's go ahead and take the bat and put it in his other. Now, if we were playing the game of Clue, I mean, it'd be pretty easy to guess what weapon Negan would have used to kill, I don't know, Colonel Mustard. It would be funny if they had Colonel Mustard in Dead City. I don't think they have a Colonel Mustard. But you can see that he has the means to hold both weapons in his hands. I think it's probably a little overkill. I mean, it's so funny I say overkill when I'm describing a character like Negan. I guess you probably could have maybe the pipe on one side and then have Lucille strung across his shoulder like that. That looks pretty cool. Let's go ahead and actually remove both the accessories for right now. I'm sure we'll be coming back to those a little bit later into the review. Oh, one other thing he also comes included with as well. That's not the end of his accessories, mind you. If you look to the side of his leg, he's got a holster here that you can unsheath a tiny little knife. Even though it's tiny, it looks like that would do some damage. There's no blood on it. As you can see, the handle is painted well in black. I do actually like that they've used more of a dark gunmetal gray for the blade. I know I'm only going to be losing this. It does technically fit into his hand as well, so if you want to just take that knife, put it into his hand. Such a small accessory, I know, such a small accessory. You can either put it in his hand. I think for this, just because, again, I don't want to lose this, let's just put it back to the holster and leave it be. Leave it be. If only that was the case, you could just leave the walkers be and they would just do their other things. I mean, walkers are all about eating your flesh. Yum, yum, yum. Looking, though, at the head sculpt of Negan, you know, I had already mentioned Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who, of course, plays the role of Negan very, very villainously. From a standpoint of his size, now we have to, again, like look at the size of this. If this was a larger scale, the Exquisite Super Series of Negan, then I think you could be a little bit more critical and say it has to really look the part. I think based at least on the size, I mean, if we're looking at it, look at my thumb and then look at the head of Negan, I don't think the likeness is all that bad. Of course, he has more of a beard this time around and not really the stubble that he had, like kind of in some of the episodes. Of course, he does have the slicked back hair. Nice looking likeness overall. He has a jacket. Now, the jacket is technically a removable piece. I suppose you could technically take the arms off, but what purpose would this serve to try to take the jacket off when really the sleeves are still part of the jacket anyways? A black jacket, a black shirt underneath, nicely sculpted with all the wrinkles there as well. Black pants. This guy just loves black. The black does have a little bit of breakup of silver. And actually, you know, when you're looking at the two, I shouldn't really say it's all black. Technically, though, really his pants are kind of a really, really dark brown. They're not exactly black. On the back of the figure's body, again, you got some really nice sculpting there for the jacket. Just overall, it's a really nice looking Negan. Now, I don't know where the licensing extends when it comes to Hiya Toys and what they're going to be planning to do with both the Exquisite miniseries and the Super Series. I would love to actually even they could just release a regular Walking Dead Negan with the little red scarf. I know, again, Negan's done other adventures since, bashed in more brains ever since then, but a classic looking Negan, even with like the little red scarf, yeah, that would be perfect. Now for the figure's articulation, Negan, starting with his head, is going to be on a ball joint. It allows the head to rotate all the way around. The head does look down, it looks up, and you can also move it back and forth. As for his arms, the arms do rotate technically all the way around. Granted, they will squeak as you're doing this. If you just ignore the squeaking, yeah, you can easily move them out. The figure does move also out at 90 degrees, a T-pose. Good pose for Negan as well. The figure does have no bicep swivel. What he does, though, have is as an alternative. He doesn't technically have a bicep swivel, but you could technically rotate it at the shoulder. Because, again, like just the way it's attached by a ball joint. He has no bicep swivel. Technically, he has no swivel in his hand or in his arm either. So don't try to move it back and forth. While he does have a double hinge on his elbow, which is nice, it comes, though, at the sacrifice that you can't really move his arm back and forth. The hands do rotate all the way around, of course. The upper torso is going to be on a good ball joint. You can split the legs for Negan. A little easier on this side than on this side for the obvious reasons that obviously he's going to have his knife sticking in the way of things, and you don't want that sticking and poking in his leg. The figure does have a swivel at the top of the thigh. Nice double hinge on the knee. No joints loose at all either on this figure. And then he has the ball joints in his legs. Or I should say hinge joint in his leg. There's an ankle rocker as well. Now, of course, if you're going to be introducing such a cool display stand like this, you'd like to think the figure does have a peg hole in the bottom of his feet. And yeah, he does. So, of course, you can take Negan. Kind of a closer quarters because, of course, he's got the skull right there. And you can just attach him onto the display stand. It would be helpful, of course, if I attach it all the way onto the display stand. Now, are we going to be getting ourselves a Maggie? I'm pretty sure we are. I don't know how far into the licensing of Walking Dead we're going to be getting not only Exquisite miniseries, but Exquisite Super Series. I know, again, we're going to be getting, obviously, this version of Negan in the smaller 3 3/4 inch size, but we're also going to be getting as well the 1/12 scale size of Negan in the Exquisite miniseries, or Exquisite Super Series. There's so many Exquisite series going on here. Again, that one's going to rely more on having fabric outfits, not really relying on just molded plastic. But if you like the look and a smaller scale collecting, nice looking Negan. Obviously, in a case like this, the figure does have available options for him. He has the knife on the side holstered in his leg. He's got the pipe, which is fine and good if you want to play Clue. But I much prefer to have the figure displayed with Lucille. Yeah, I like the look of Lucille. Which again, you can put the figure in, put it in his hand. You can have the figure displayed that way. You know what? to keep talking about that, let's go ahead and get Lucille back in his hand. There we go. Getting back onto his display stand. The only one hope that I have for this line moving forward is not only are we going to be getting more Walking Dead characters, but that when it comes to the display stands, they get a little bit more creative. Well, let me say that they get more creative in the sense that they're not going to be using the same base again. The base is cool the first time that you see it. But to have multiples of these, after a while, it's just going to look like they're using the same display stand over and over again. I'm not diminishing at all how cool it is that there's a skull there. The rest of his body's kind of right over there. And it looks like he's reaching out for Negan's boots, which is really kind of cool and creepy as well. But I do hope, though, like they've kind of taken the same page that they've done with the Exquisite series of G.I. Joe, where like the display stands are similar to one another, but then they change them up. They change the movement and the placement of the bullet casings. They kind of need to do something like that as well with The Walking Dead. Not always does a display stand need to have a skull, as cool as it may look, have like different entrails, different body parts of the dead around them. Then you can get yourself a really neat and creepy looking diorama when, of course, you've got multiple of these connected all together. Well, the Exquisite mini-series, yes, was the thing that really brought me to the dance with Hiya toys. I've honestly, over the last couple of years, moved away and more focused my attention on getting the Exquisite Super Series. With what the company's successfully done with what figures we've gotten from the Exquisite Super Series, like Rambo, like the Universal Soldiers, like even Judge Dredd, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they're going to be able to pull off with the 1/12 scale release of Negan, and how much better of a likeness we may be getting with a Jeffrey Dean Morgan portrait. It doesn't mean necessarily I've pulled myself away from collecting Exquisite miniseries as a whole. There's something still to be said for the charm of collecting 4-inch scale figures. I think I'll always still be a collector of 4-inch scale figures. Growing up and collecting G.I. Joes, I like the fact that they take up a lot less space on the shelf, and not really dismissing at all. I think for the likeness of what we're getting here with Negan, does it look like Morgan? I think it still does, just on a lightly smaller scale. The figure still manages to pull off 2 accessories to be held in his hand, technically a third if you're looking at the packed blade that he has on the side of his leg, not to mention a really cool looking display stand. If anything can be said, the Exquisite miniseries of Negan has one thing better than the 1/12 release that we're eventually going to be getting. He comes included with a zombie display base. Whereas again, when we look at usually Exquisite Super Series, usually standard with them are the display stands. They're just basic black boxes with, if anything, it's probably just going to say Dead City along the top. I gotta say, I really like that look of the display stand. Now, when it comes to release dates, the Exquisite mini-series of Negan is dropping this month, May 2025. So you can check around places online where normally they either are pre-ordering or selling currently Hiya toys. He's going to again be dropping this month for $24.99. If you're willing, though, to wait the extra month, then the Exquisite Super Series Negan is going to be dropping June 2025 for $104.99. And again, with that, you're going to be getting the real fabric outfit. You're probably going to be having quite a lot more of accessories, and you may be potentially getting a better looking likeness of Negan. We will only be able to tell when that figure eventually gets released. A big thank you again to the folks over at Hiya Toys that did come through and provide the sample of the brand new Walking Dead Dead City Exquisite mini-series Negan that we had the chance to have a look in this review. What do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. And when it comes to your own personal collecting, what size class do you prefer the most? Is it 3 3/4 inch, 4-inch scale figures? Do you prefer the 7-inch scale, or do you like to collect the 1/6 scale, the 12-inch tall figures? What is your favorite preferred collection size? Let me know down below in the comments section. If you guys also did enjoy this video, do it a solid and throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. Hit that subscribe, turn on, of course, that bell. And the biggest thing, of course, is that you're coming back. We may be wrapping up things right now for a Dead Manhattan, but there will be more reviews coming your way for the rest of this week. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.